Okay, so let's unpack this centenarians people hitting 100, even more. It's become, well, less rare, right?
Hmm.
And everyone wants to know, what's the secret?
Exactly. Forget magic potions.
Yeah.
We've been looking at this source, longevidad, habitus recursos y vida, which really tries to get at that.
So for this deep dive, that's our focus. We want to pull out the key stuff, blend the hard science with the stories of these people.
Yeah, give a real sense of what leads to a long, healthy life.
Hmm.
And what's great about the source is, like you said, it looks at both sides. You've got the big studies, the
Yeah.
genetics, the biology,
Oh,
the quantitative stuff.
right, the numbers.
But then you also have the qualitative, the interviews, the personal stories, how people actually lived it.
It gives you the what and the how. Blah.
Precisely. A much more holistic picture.
Okay, so let's jump in. First, big area. The science side of things, the biological blueprint, you could say. Our source talks about these cinco grandes, the big 5 lifestyle factors from those huge U.S. studies.
Yes, the nurses' health study and the health professionals' follow-up. Really influential work.
And these are things we can actually, do something about, modifiable factors.
Absolutely. And when you see the impact, it's kind of staggering, these 5 things. Never smoking, keeping a healthy weight, regular exercise, a good diet, and moderate alcohol.
And the payoff. The study found women doing all 5 by age 50 got, what, an extra 14 years?
14 years on average, yeah.
Yeah.
And men, 12.2 years. It just shows how much power we have in our daily choices.
It really does. Let's break them down a bit. Never smoking, that one seems pretty universal among the very old.
It's a huge one. The evidence is just overwhelming. Our source mentions Maria Brañas, lived to 117.
Wow.
Never smoked. It damages things on such a fundamental cellular level.
Right. Then healthy weight. BMI between 18.5 and 24.9 is the target usually.
Yeah.
But it gets a bit more complicated later in life, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. There's some debate. While avoiding obesity is key throughout life, being underweight can actually be a risk for older adults, linked to frailty. So maybe a slightly higher BMI isn't so bad at very old age.
Interesting nuance. But generally, keeping weight in check for most of your adult life is still the goal.
Definitely.
Okay, number 3, physical activity. At least 150 minutes a week, moderate to vigorous. It's not just about living longer, but staying mobile, keeping your mind sharp, quality life stuff.
Absolutely. It prevents disability. And the source notes that grip strength in middle age, just how strong your handshake is linked to exceptional survival.
Grip strength, really.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly good indicator of overall muscle mass and health. Shows the importance of keeping strong as you age, staying independent.
Makes sense. Then diet, the source mentions being in the top 40% on something called the AHEI 2010.
Right, the Alternative Healthy Eating Index. It's basically a way to score how healthy your overall eating pattern is. Lots of plants, whole grains, healthy fats, that kind of thing.
So less about specific superfoods and more about the whole picture.
Exactly. The overall pattern matters most. The Mediterranean diet gets a good mention, as you'd expect. Lots of plants, variety.
And it's interesting that Spanish study mentioned that older people with chronic conditions sometimes had better diets.
Yeah, it suggests maybe having a health issue or being overweight can actually motivate people to eat better. Maybe they get more advice or information.
Huh. Okay. Last of the 5, alcohol. Moderate intake. There's that J-shaped curve idea, right? A little might be okay for some, too much is bad.
Exactly. 15 grams a day for women, 530 for men is the range often cited from those studies. But crucially,
That's not essential.
not at all. You've got long-lived groups like the Seventh-day Adventists who mostly abstain. Maria Brañas didn't drink alcohol either, so it's definitely not a requirement.
Moderation if you do, but don't start if you don't.
Precisely. And individual health always comes first.
So the big message from these 5 is really their combined power. Doing all of them gives you that huge boost in life expectancy.
It's the synergy. Each one helps.
Okay, moving beyond those core 5, cardiovascular health seems absolutely central.
Fundamental. The source really hammers this home. Your risk factors in middle age say 40 to 60 things like blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, smoking, weight. They strongly predict if you'll make it to 85 plus without major diseases and still functioning well.
It's like setting the stage decades earlier, investing in your future health.
That's a great way to put it.
And it fits with the observation that centenarians often get chronic diseases much later, if at all. They might need fewer meds, maybe just for blood pressure or heart issues later on.
Right, they seem to delay that typical decline. It's not always about never getting sick, but pushing it way, way back. more resilience.
Okay, resilience. That brings us to the biology and genetics piece. Lifestyle isn't the whole story, is it?
No, genetics definitely plays a role. Heritability for longevity is estimated around 20–30%.
Hmm.
So yeah, having long-lived relatives gives you a bit of a leg up.
And the source mentions specific genes, APOE and FOXO3A.
hmm These are involved in really basic processes. APOE with how we handle fats, FOXO3A is linked to cellular stress resistance, repair, insulin signaling.
That insulin pathway comes up a lot in aging research, doesn't it?
It's a really conserved pathway, yeah. Seems critical for lifespan across many species.
And for the supercentenarians, the 110 plus club, the genetics look even more important.
It seems so. Early studies didn't find one magic gene, but newer, more detailed studies suggest they often have really efficient DNA repair mechanisms.
Better at fixing damage as it happens.
Exactly. Both the genes they inherit and also fewer mutations accumulating in their body cells over time.
Like Maria Brañas again. Her genetics showed some interesting things, right?
Yeah, really remarkable. They found rare genetic variants linked to better brain function, a stronger immune system, healthier heart and lungs, lower cancer risk. Even her mitochondria seemed to work better.
So a sort of protective genetic profile.
Seems like it. And interestingly, she actually carried some risk genes too, but other parts of her genetics likely compensated or protected her.
Fascinating. And drilling down to the cellular level, the source talks about those hallmarks of aging, like telomeres shortening.
Right. Genomic instability, telomere shortening, epigenetic changes, those chemical tags on DNA, altered nutrient sensing. These are things that typically happen as we age.
But centenarians seem to delay them.
They often do. Brañas, for instance, had surprisingly long telomeres for her age, and her epigenetic clock suggested her cells were biologically younger than her chronological age.
So maintaining that genomic stability, good DNA repair, that seems key.
Absolutely critical. And the immune system is another piece. Some evidence suggests supercentenarians might just have more robust or maybe unique immune systems.
Better at fighting off infections and clearing out damaged cells.
Seems plausible. Brañas had high levels of certain immune proteins, and her genes pointed to strong immunity too.
So pulling the science thread together, lifestyle is crucial for getting to, say, your 80s or 90s in good shape.
Yeah, for most people, that's the main driver.
But hitting 105, 110, and beyond, that seems to rely more on having those favorable genetics, that biological resilience.
That seems to be the picture emerging. The source talks about a kind of decoupling of chronological age from functional decline in these individuals. They just keep going functionally for much longer.
Okay, that's a great overview of the science. Let's shift now to the lived experience, daily habits, routines, environments, which brings us straight to the blue zones.
Ah, yes, the blue zones. Okinawa, Sardinia, Nicoya, Icaria, Loma Linda. These places are just hotspots for centenarians.
And by studying them, researchers found common threads, didn't they? The Power Nine.
Exactly. 9 principles that seem to pop up across these diverse cultures.
Let's touch on a few. Move naturally. This isn't gym workouts, is it?
No, not usually. It's more about, well, their environment making them move. Our Sardinian shepherds walking hills, Okinawans gardening, Icarians walking everywhere. It's built into their day. Low intensity, but constant.
Okay. Then purpose. Ikigai in Okinawa, plan de vida in Nicoya. Having a reason to wake up.
Yeah, sounds philosophical, but the source says it's linked to potentially 7 extra years of life expectancy. It's about engagement, motivation.
Huge. Downshift, managing stress. Okinawans remembering ancestors, Adventist prayer, Icarian naps, Sardinian happy hour.
Right. Built-in routines to shed stress. We know chronic stress is so damaging, so these practices are likely vital.
The 80% rule from Okinawa Hara Hachibu, stop eating when you're 80% full.
Yeah, mindful eating, basically. Connects to calorie restriction ideas, helps with weight, metabolism. They also tend to eat smaller meals later in the day.
Makes sense. Plant slant diets heavy on plants, beans, lentils. Meat is rare.
Echoes what we saw in the larger studies.
Yeah.
Lots of fiber, nutrients, antioxidants. Less saturated fat, less processing.
Wine at 5, moderate wine, often with food, socially, but again, not universal.
Right. The Adventists abstain. Brañas abstained. It might have social benefits, maybe some heart benefits for some, but definitely not essential.
Being part of a faith community seems common.
Yeah, the source suggests it's less about the specific faith and more the regular social connection and support it provides, linked to longer life.
Which ties into loved ones first, prioritizing family, keeping generations close.
That strong family support network provides huge emotional stability and belonging.
And finally, right tribe. Surrounding yourself with people who support healthy habits, like the Okinawan Moais.
Yeah, those lifelong support groups. It highlights social contagion, how behaviors, good and bad, spread through networks. Your friends' habits rub off on you.
It's so powerful. The blue zones really show how the environment and culture shape everything, don't they? It's not just individual effort.
Absolutely. When the healthy choice is the easy default choice baked into the culture,
Hmm.
it makes a massive difference.
So looking beyond just the blue zones, are there common threads globally among centenarians?
Definitely. Diet-wise, you consistently see plant-rich, varied meals. Fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains, lowish red meat, controlled salt. Mediterranean pattern often fits. Maria Branius ate that way, with daily yogurt too, apparently for gut health.
And activity is regular, but often just daily life stuff. Walking, gardening.
Yeah, less formal exercise, more just staying active throughout the day. Branius loved walking.
Sleep seems important too, getting enough good quality sleep.
7, 8 hours is common, and they report high satisfaction with sleep. Naps are big in some cultures, like Icaria might reduce stress and heart risk.
What about medications? The source suggested maybe less use compared to younger seniors.
Potentially, yeah, reflecting that delayed onset of disease. But we need to be cautious with self-reported data in this group. Common meds are often for blood pressure or heart issues when they do arise.
And environment, more seem to live in rural areas.
There's a tendency, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe stronger communities, more nature, more natural activity, less urban stress. The isolation of blue zones might have helped preserve traditional ways too.
So the big themes seem to be consistency and moderation. Nothing extreme, just balanced habits kept up over decades.
That's it. Small, healthy choices day after day adding up.
Right. Okay, we've done the science, the daily life. Let's get into the mind. Psychology, resilience, perspective. This feels really important too.
Hugely important. We're talking about the mental and emotional toolkit for a long, fulfilling life.
That sense of purpose comes up again. Ikigai, plan de vida. More than just existing.
Yeah, it drives motivation, boosts well-being, even linked to physical health.
And a positive outlook, optimism, being adaptable. Maria Branius emphasized positivity, right? Emotional stability, not dwelling on worries. Humor, too.
Definitely. That mindset acts like a buffer against stress, helps you navigate challenges. The Spanish study backed this up too.
It's also about how they relate to the world, appreciating nature, staying curious, having some kind of spiritual or philosophical view.
Yes, staying engaged intellectually and emotionally keeps them connected, learning, feeling part of something.
Which includes continuous learning, reading, puzzles, hobbies, keeping the mind active.
Good for cognition, plus it's enjoyable, gives a sense of accomplishment.
So psychological well-being isn't just luck, it's something you cultivate. Through perspective, engagement, managing stress.
It's an active process, absolutely, which leads right into resilience.
The ability to bounce back.
Exactly. Not about avoiding tough times, because nobody does, but how you adapt and recover. And the source stresses, it's something you can build.
And it's incredibly protective, isn't it? That study showing high resilience lowered death risks significantly, even with health problems.
Yeah, the BMJ mental health study. Really striking. Resilience helps you cope, manage stress, handle health issues better.
So how do you build it? The source listed a bunch of strategies.
Lots of things. Social connection is probably the biggest one. Having meaning and purpose, learning from things that happen, staying hopeful, self-care body and mind, being proactive about problems.
Managing emotions, positive self-view, being flexible. Spirituality for some. Stress management techniques like mindfulness, nature, hobbies.
It's a whole toolkit, a mix of inner resources and outer support. And crucially, these are skills you can learn and practice.
And briefly, cognitive vitality. Centenarians often stay sharp longer.
Often, yes. Dementia can affect studies, obviously, but the trend is slower decline. Branius was incredibly sharp.
And it links back to everything else. Lifestyle, social life, stress, learning, genetics.
It's all interconnected. Brain health is tied to overall health.
Okay, one more big area. The social world, connections, community. You said this was huge.
Absolutely fundamental, right up there with diet and exercise. Social connection is a pillar of longevity.
And the science backs that up strongly. Being connected lowers mortality risk.
Hugely. Meta-analyses show it. Conversely, loneliness and isolation are really bad linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, weaker immunity, cognitive decline, dying earlier.
Wow. Loneliness can even cause physical stress and inflammation.
Seems so. It has real biological consequences.
And family is obviously key. Strong ties, lasting partnerships, keeping older relatives involved.
That core family unit provides vital emotional support, security, belonging. Maria Branius, again, highlights the benefits of strong family ties.
Beyond family, community involvement matters too.
Mm-hmm.
Faith groups, clubs, volunteering, those Okinawan moais.
Mm-hmm. Reduces stress, offers support, emotional, sometimes practical, gives purpose, connection. The Okinawan UMRO mutual help is another example.
And that right tribe idea, again, your social circle influencing your habits.
Absolutely. Health behaviors are contagious. Smoking, obesity, exercise, even happiness and loneliness spread through networks. Branius' advice, avoid toxic people, makes sense.
So social connection is truly foundational, works on multiple levels, biological, behavioral, psychological.
Definitely. Now, the source also briefly touches on family structures.
Right, like family size.
Yep.
Centenarians today might have had larger families, but fertility rates are dropping globally.
Yeah, future centenarians might have smaller immediate families, though the heritability of health within families is still a factor.
And living arrangements matter for connection, don't they? Okinawa lets people stay integrated, even living alone, but elsewhere, losing a partner can lead to isolation.
Right. Multi-generational living in blue zones helps avoid that. Entering a nursing home, conversely, can sometimes be linked to reduced life expectancy, perhaps due to loss of connection or autonomy.
And while intergenerational bonds are great, they can also bring conflict, right? Care decisions, money, independence.
Normal stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
The source suggests things like mediation can help manage these constructively. Communication is key.
It's about handling conflict well, not avoiding it. Open communication, empathy, respect for autonomy.
Exactly. Focusing on the problem, not blaming. There are different coping styles, too, some more helpful than others. Conflict is normal. Managing it adaptively is the goal.
Okay, last main section.
Yeah.
The broader context, environment, economics.
Right.
The resources available.
How things like food access, money, and where you live fit into the longevity picture.
Food-wise, it links back to local traditions, doesn't it? Blue zones often eat fresh, local, seasonal, unprocessed stuff because that's what's there. Brenius's Mediterranean diet is a good example of a sustainable traditional pattern.
Mm-hmm. And remember that point about older people with health issues sometimes eating better,
Yeah.
maybe linked to access to information or motivation.
Interesting. Now, money. Is it just rich people live longer?
It's complicated. Big studies often show higher income links to longer life. But in centenarian studies specifically, the link to education, income, or job isn't always clear-cut.
So maybe basic economic security is key, but beyond that, other things matter more.
That could be it. You need enough for essentials. Extreme poverty is clearly bad, but extreme wealth doesn't seem necessary for extreme longevity. Many blue zones aren't wealthy in monetary terms.
They rely more on social capital, natural resources.
Exactly. Loma Linda is maybe richer, but they have incredibly strong community support. So basic security seems important, then other factors take over. Though we should note some older adults do face economic vulnerability.
Right. And the physical environment itself. Rural living seems more common for centenarians.
Yeah, maybe due to community, nature, activity, less stress. The isolation of blue zones on islands or mountains might have helped preserve healthy lifestyles and diets too.
So a supportive environment matters. Walkable, places to socialize, access to healthy food.
Definitely. Community planning can play a role there.
Okay, wow. We've covered so much ground. Let's try to weave it all together. Synthesize these threads.
I think the clearest takeaway is the synergy. It's not one thing. It's how all these factors, lifestyle, genes, habits, mind, social life, environment, work together.
It's multifactorial.
Absolutely. And for most of us aiming for a healthy old age, those modifiable lifestyle choices are the bedrock. That midlife health point is crucial too.
But for the truly exceptional longevity, 105 plus, maybe there are some X factors. Stronger genetic advantages, incredible resilience, deep social integration.
That seems plausible. Those might be the differentiators at the extreme end.
It really forces a holistic view. Body, mind, relationships, environment are all linked.
Completely. And the lessons from centenarians aren't just academic. They're practical insights for all of us to improve our health and well-being.
It's about promoting healthy lifestyles, building resilience, strengthening communities, creating environments that support health.
So more people can live longer, fuller lives, and maybe, just maybe, we can increasingly decouple getting older chronologically from getting sick. That's the hope.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the big picture is clear. Longevity is complex. But we have more influence than we might think, especially through lifestyle and mindset.
Yeah, it's not just fate.
As you've been listening, maybe think about which of these areas resonates most with you. Is it the social connection piece? Finding more purpose? Or maybe tweaking some daily habits?
Even small changes, consistently applied, can make a difference over time.
Absolutely. If you want to explore more, definitely look into the Blue Zones research or some of the studies we touched on.
And, the science is always evolving. It's exciting to think about what we'll learn next about aging well.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.